How do you live a sinless, almost perfect life where you do everything by the book and you avoid all temptation? Well, the simple answer to that is that you can't, because we are only human. We're not perfect. We're gonna sin throughout our lives, no matter how we try to not sin. We will sin because it's in our nature. We're humans. But, we can only, it, you have to take small steps in order to achieve your goal or in order to become a better person. So, like, you could say to yourself, I'm going to be a better person than I was yesterday. I'm going to work on being more patient, staying grounded, not becoming anxious, or maybe I'm going to work on my anxiety today. I'm going to do little bits around the house, that need to be done, but I've been delaying it. Just little baby steps like that. And then I'm sure we are all aware of what is coming to light in the world. It's been happening for decades, centuries, since the dawn of time, even before that. Satanic side of things, it's been happening. You can't deny it. It is happening. It has been happening. It will continue to happen. There's no stopping it. But we are all, the world is waking up even more so because of the Epstein files. And so we have knowledge of that. We know bad stuff is happening. And then, there's a side to us like, oh, well, it's not in my country, but actually it is. It's happening all over the world. And what can we do? 1 minute. So, yeah, what can we do to, kind of stop evil from entering our life? Well, temptation is all around us and we are given free will. No one is perfect. That's an illusion. But I want to talk to you a bit about how to recognize evil. See, that's my mission, I believe, in life, to pass on my spiritual knowledge, to at least share with you, even if you don't listen properly, to at least share with you what ways demonic and bad spirits can enter your life. As we all know, drink and drugs are gateways. Obviously playing with spirit boards, and I'm not the sort of person to just be like, oh yeah, you shouldn't play with this, drink and drugs are bad for you. I was an addict for a few years, about 20 years ago now, but I got myself out of it. So I know for a fact they are gateways, because I saw some things. I'm naturally very spiritually aware, so obviously the drugs and drink made me even more aware, and then they made my third eye open more when I was getting myself clean. But yeah, I know how hard it is. Temptation is everywhere. Like I said, I'm not one of those people like, you should avoid all this and that. I know how hard it is. I was an addict for a few years. I got myself clean. I'm now fully sober. I have been for a while. I'm 32 years old. And obviously I grew up in a haunted house. I had an interest with the paranormal, and unfortunately, curiosity got the better of me, and I did do a spirit board one time. And it only got to, when it got to the middle of the session, and then it said it was a little girl, that was when I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Oh my god, I'm so stupid. And then I even said to the person, I'm like, are you sure it's a little girl? Because demons can disguise themselves as children in order to lure people in. And that was the first time and last time I will ever do a spirit board, because it was stupid of me, and I was putting myself in spiritual danger. You know, many people think, especially the younger generation, they're so, in my opinion, some people of that generation are so materialistic. It's scary because they don't really understand the spiritual warfare that's going on, and they are very oblivious to the dangers they are putting themselves in. But I know, you know, not every person is like that, but I see the younger generation just total disregard, really, for the dangers of, you know, the spiritual elements of this world are just, loads of people are being deceived, basically. And I believe that if you have spiritual knowledge and abilities, like if you have a deep yearning in your soul to help people, then you should help them. You should pass that knowledge on, because in my opinion it is our duty to. You know, the biggest trick the devil ever did was, you know, convincing the world that he doesn't exist. But more people are waking up, but more people are still asleep. I mean, the devil, as we know, can get through music, drink, drugs, spirit boards, paranormal investigations, all these things, really. And even the littlest things like arguing in the home, you know, lying, stealing, you know, just like probably even porn, maybe. Well, no, porn, yeah, you know, the devil does work through that industry, so it's important to highlight that. And, you know, bad spirits just feed off negativity, like, you know, like arguing, self-doubt. You know, they are capable of putting thoughts in your head which aren't your own. So if you've ever thought of a thought that, you know, you would never think like that, that's probably a negative spirit trying to, yeah, make you doubt yourself. And yeah, I mean, for example, I had a spiritual attack the other day, and then I was just like, I rebuked it in the name of Jesus. I was like, I do not give you authority to enter my mind, in the name of Jesus, because there is power in the name of Jesus. And, you know, I don't think anyone can deny that, because literally also in every single film you see of like an exorcism being done, they use the name Jesus. So clearly there's power there. And I talked about it a few weeks ago. I think, I don't know, this Easter seemed different, if that made sense. It just felt different, because more people, like I said, are waking up in the world, and it's a beautiful thing. Like, more people, I believe, are coming to Christ, but there's still a lot of people out there that need to learn about the dangers of the spiritual realm, and we need to start taking it seriously as a nation, I feel, because, you know, the fight is real. And, you know, if you're aware of the spiritual realm and the spiritual fight that's going on and the way spirits work, then yeah, you will probably be under more threat of spiritual attack, because they know you're going to wake people up, and they don't want that. They want everyone to be little sheep. But no, you know, I mean, the world, the countries are run by satanic paedophiles and elites who kidnap children and do terrible things. And then some people ask, oh, why, if God is real, why does he allow stuff like this to happen? Well, it's down to free will. It's free will. It's our God-given free will. He can't interfere with free will. Spirits can't interfere with free will. The only thing they can do is they can suggest, they can try and tempt, But at the end of the day, it is our free will. For example, Adam and Eve in the garden. Free will. The snake suggested, tempted Eve to eat the apple. And now that is why childbirth is incredibly painful. So thank you, Eve. No. But it's just like, I just wish that, you know, more people would take the spiritual realm seriously, because I don't think many people do. The reason of that is because literally mediums, psychics, it's very easy for them to say, you know, I'm literally classed as a medium myself, the Mystic Belle, you know. But the Mystic Belle, I am doing more than that. I have kind of, in a way, stopped doing readings like that, because my spiritual discernment is coming through, and I just want to stay true to my faith. I don't want to displease God. I know I have abilities. I want to use them in the right way, and I believe it's my mission to talk about, you know, to educate people. So I can't remember his name, but I was watching a really interesting priest the other day, and he was talking about when he was training in the Vatican to be an exorcist, and you know, he's seen things, for example, a woman slithering on the floor like a snake, and literally her eyes changed from normal to slit eyes. And, you know, obviously there's levitating and whatnot, but that's quite rare. And he was saying the devil is everywhere. And, you know, I mean, he was also saying with these mediums and psychics, you need to remember that spirit is listening all the time. The spiritual realm, good and bad, are listening all the time. So, you know, it's very easy for a person with spiritual abilities, like a medium or a psychic, who's really into everything like that, to be deceived by a spirit, because they think they're working with the light when actually the dark is deceiving them. So deceivement is a massive thing. No doubt I've been deceived by spirit in the past, there's no doubt about it, but now I'm waking up, I'm praying more and more, morning and night and throughout the day, and my faith is strong. My faith has always been strong. But you know, the spiritual realm are listening all the time. That means negative spirits are listening all the time. They know stuff about you that they pass on to these mediums. And, you know, I don't know all the answers. You know, we are not meant to know all the answers, but the best thing I can do is I can share what I have been taught, what I have learnt myself. And the best thing you can do is hopefully listen. If not, that's fine, that's okay. I do waffle on a bit. But the best thing you can do is, if you want to learn more about it, do research for yourself. Don't just assume, you know, because you're staying away from ghost hunting, from mediums and whatnot, don't think that the enemy won't come after you, because they will. Just because you stay away from those sort of stuff, they will try and weave themselves into your life another way. So it's very important to listen to your intuition, because that's like your spiritual self warning you against something. And also, if you know, just pay attention to how you feel. If you have a person in your life, I mean, for example, the way I say it is, imagine you wake up on a really positive, you know, in a positive mood, like, you know, you're really happy and whatnot, and then this really grumpy person comes along and just tries to bring you down, really, tries to vent to you, tries to just make you feel worthless, anxious, angry, sad, all those emotions that you don't want to feel because you're in a happy mood. And they're just trying to get into your energy field. And so, again, you have two choices. You can either allow that energy in. Even if you're trying to help them, you need to learn to just put spiritual boundaries in place. And then you can kind of just like imagine your energy field like there, and then you can think to yourself, no, I'm not having this energy in my energy field. I don't need it. I can help them, but I don't need to absorb their energy, because a lot of women I talk to, and a lot of people as well, are very sensitive to energy, especially energy vampires. And then, that's the reason why, if you're talking to someone or they're a chatterbox, like they will not shut up talking. That's why, some women, some people in general feel drained, because that person is draining all your spiritual energy. So it's important to protect your energy if possible. And it's important as well if you have a busy lifestyle, or if you're a parent like me. I have 3 children under, well, my oldest is 4 now. But yeah, my daughter is 2 and my youngest is 1. So as you can imagine, it gets quite hectic, and I'm quite a patient person. And I mean, I always advise as well, because like I say, as much as the bad side of the spiritual realm is listening to you, also the good side of the spiritual realm is listening to you. And it's got to a point now with my spiritual discernment, it's got to a point when if someone asks me in my spiritual reading if their grandmother is well or something, I say to them along the lines of, because I read through energy, and I believe that it would be kind of blasphemic, is that even a word? I don't know, but we're going with it. Blasphemic of me if I were to say, oh yeah, they're fine, it's all right, it's fine. Who am I? What authority do I have to tell them that? Am I the creator? Am I the maker? Was I there on their judgment day? How do I know that for sure? I don't, and I'm rediscovering my faith, and so I want to stay true to myself, and I also don't want to displease the higher power. So, I say, I'm sure they are with God, or I say, if, I'm sure, they have had a talk with Jesus, God, on their judgment day, they seem to have loved you, stuff like that. But I try to steer away from, telling them, yes, they're fine, they're with the Lord. I don't know that for sure, because no medium knows that for sure. I'm telling you that right now. No psychic or medium knows if your loved one is okay. They're just telling you happy fairy tale sort of stuff. And on the other hand, there is, I'm not saying everyone is in hell, but we're not the judge. Majority of people do go to heaven, but for example, like murderers and whatnot, that's a different case. That's another matter. But no one has the authority to tell you where your loved one is. And that's something I wouldn't normally say in a live, but literally I was trying to get my words out earlier on, because it's very important for me to express myself, and I literally prayed to God, Holy Spirit. I was like, please help me, like, speak clearly on my life. So if this is the sort of stuff I'm going to be talking about, this is the sort of stuff I'm going to be talking about. So that brings me back to spiritual discernment, and why it's so important to realize what is bad and what is good for your soul, for yourself, for your spiritual energy. Remember, you have the power to, you now have the authority, not in a higher sense, I'm talking about you have the authority in your life to decide by your free will if an energy is going to stay in your life or if you're going to block that energy out. You know, why should you tolerate bad energy in your life? Why should you tolerate people bringing you down and whatnot? You know, obviously everyone's lives are different, and I think you just need to stay true to yourself. Like I said at the start of this vlog, just do little things each day to improve yourself as a person. I mean, for example, in my opinion, in your 20s, you don't really have much care for things like this, for conversations like this, because obviously you're so wrapped up in the world, and that's a normal part of being in your 20s. But then I find as you get older, I'm 32, in your 30s, I believe that's when things start to settle down. That's when you start to take off the rose-tinted glasses for a bit and really listen to yourself. If you have any questions as well, guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. Hopefully I am, but if you have any questions, please, you know, I want to talk about this stuff, and I welcome anyone who has questions or anything so we can discuss it together. You know, I want like my podcast to be like that. So, you know, we really need to get the ball rolling with like talking about this stuff in our own lives, you know, to connect with people who are on our wavelength, because we are drawn to them for a reason. How can we help them, but also how can we learn to protect ourselves spiritually? And also, you know, like we discussed, Ouija boards, drink, drugs, everything like that, lying, cheating, stealing, watching porn, you know, everything like that is bad. That invites the enemy in. But also self-doubt invites the enemy in, because what normally happens in the spiritual realm is that the enemy tries to get to people by, you know, they can even send people to bloody attack you, like verbally attack you and whatnot, because they know that will affect you. And, you know, like I said, you know, spirit realm can only interfere so much. They can't control you. You know, it's up to you to decide what you want in this life. It's up to you to choose. Choosing is extremely important, because, you know, one choice could potentially affect your entire future. And you know, it's a beautiful thing to be able to choose, but also it's quite scary. And you know, like I said, we're not meant to know all the answers in this life, but obviously going back to energy, I'm trying to take my time with this, guys, so bear with me, because it's important that I try and explain this as thoroughly as I can. I'm still waking up. So how to spot a bad spirit. Obviously there'll be an uneasy feeling in the room with you. Your soul will feel threatened. For example, I remember one time I was visiting a good friend of mine, and I met their partner for the first time, who was an ex-warlock, a witch basically. And that night I was sleeping over there, and honest to God, I have never felt so spiritually threatened in my life, because the energy in the house was really, really, yeah. And the energy was so bad that a couple of years later, she wanted to meet up with me again, and I had to be honest with her. I'm like, I'm sorry, honestly, I felt really like spiritually threatened. And you know, they're fine now. You know, the energy is gone and whatnot. Well, I don't know that for sure, but they seem to, you know, have started afresh. But you know, stuff like that, if it just makes your soul feel uneasy, then yeah, that's probably an atmosphere of bad spiritual attachments. And And also, if you ever feel threatened spiritually, or if you're just anxious or literally just frightened of particular things, now bear with me, because this might sound cheesy, but please bear with me, because honestly I thought it was cheesy at first, and then I started doing it, and then I was like, oh, okay, it actually works. So each one of us, and it says this in the Bible, each one of us was appointed a guardian angel at birth to watch over us and to protect over us, and you can call upon them for help, just like even with little day-to-day things. But I don't advise that, because, you know, angelic beings are majestic and magnificent, and they shouldn't be asked to, like, I don't know, fix the Hoover or something like that. Which I have kind of done in the past, because the roller bit stopped working, and I was like, please help me, and then it did, and then I was like, oh, I shouldn't have even asked you for that. That's so human of me. I'm sorry. But you know, yeah, I was skeptical at first. I was like, really? Oh, all these angels and this angel stuff and angel this, and like I wasn't a believer. And then I just started to talk to my guardian angel. I mean, now, knowing what I do now, you have to be extremely specific when talking to the spiritual realm, because anyone could answer. Because like I say, the good side of the spiritual realm is listening all the time to us, and so it's a bad one. So you have to be very specific. So how I ask for help is, and also you can try this if you wish to if you wish, to see a loved one who's passed. I recommend you do this, because I believe this is the safest way to get in touch with a loved one. You literally go through God. This is what I do. I pray to God. I ask God, dear our Father who art in heaven, dear Lord, if it's possible, please can you send my love to all my family members in heaven, and if possible, please could you allow, my grandmother or this and that, to please visit me in my dreams. I'd be very grateful. And one time I actually did that, and two nights from that, my grandmother came to visit me in my dream. And like I say, I think that's the safest option to ask God, because if you literally just be like, oh, I call upon the spiritual realm willy-nilly, that's dangerous. You don't do that, because literally, like I said, every single spiritual being is listening, and even the bad ones are listening. So like I said, deceivement is a big thing. Thank you everyone who's joining. Hi Reverend Andrew, I believe your name is. I am, I'm, just so you know, like I feel, because obviously you're a very devout Christian. I was confirmed a Christian. I was blessed with spiritual abilities. Even though I'm the mystic Belle, I am reconnecting with my faith very strongly. And I know I have spiritual abilities. I feel like there's a fire in my soul to warn people about the spiritual warfare that's going on, and to try and, I have knowledge of the spiritual realm, and I would like to help people realize the spiritual warfare that's going on, as well as realize how the enemy can infiltrate their life. So that's kind of my mission, really. I'm still learning. We're not meant to know all the answers in life. We're not meant to, but I believe the best thing we can do is, if we have spiritual knowledge, we can pass that on in order to help people. Like I said earlier, there is power in the name of Jesus, and literally, because I believe I'm a seer. I have a lot to learn, and I was praying this morning. I pray every morning and every night. I forgot, guys, when you're praying, this is just something I do. I thank God for his time, effort and energy into my life, and for all the times he has been there in my life and I have not known, as well as I thank my guardian angel for their time, effort and energy. I also ask for protection. Please continue to protect my children from all forms of harm if possible, including spiritual. More people are waking up, but I believe it's my duty to help more people wake up. So hopefully that's what I'm going to do. I used to be a medium. I'm called the Mystic Belle, but I'm starting to take off my rose-tinted glasses even more now and to see things for what it is. Unfortunately, we cannot stop the evil that is going on in this world, but the best thing we can do is be aware of it, and we can pray. And so many people have asked me, if there is a God, why does he allow such evil? Well, from my personal point of view, it's down to free will. It's spirit can only interfere so much, I believe. It's our God-given free will, to decide and choose what road we want to go down, which reminds me of a dream I had. I had a dream of two swans going down a river. This was years ago. And one side of the river was black and the other one was, normal colour. And then a voice in my dream said, it's never too late to change. And I've never forgotten that dream. I believe as well, I believe that I was fortunate enough to be blessed with sensing the angelic presence of my guardian angel. I know I might sound silly for that, but I honestly believe that, because I start to pray more and more and more, and I could just tell, like, literally this being had the energy of heaven. Hang on, sorry, I need to pick up my child. 1 minute. Oh, baby. Yeah, this being had the energy of heaven, and in my belief, I know that because I've only had 2 dreams of Jesus Christ in my life. One time I was in year 6 and I was really, I used to go to church and everything every Sunday. I had a little prayer book and everything, and it was during that time that I had a dream of Jesus, and Jesus in the dream was in my garden. Thank you for liking the live, I really appreciate it. I was in my garden and Jesus was on like a bench we had, and he was showing me the gold, frankincense and myrrh, and I've never forgotten that dream. And then another dream I had was about 3 years ago, and I can tell you right now, like, if you it's all right, honey, I'm nearly done. And if you've ever watched near-death experiences and those people that come back and say, I felt unconditional love and support and just welcome energy, that's exactly what I felt in my dream. It was this unconditional love and support like I've never felt. And, I feel this energy often when my spiritual side kind of tunes in, but not on this scale. This scale was different, and don't know why my voice is quivering, maybe because it's a special little dream for me. But in the dream there was Jesus. I didn't see his face, and I was literally kneeling down like a child. I was literally just like crying on his lap, and I didn't see his face. And that was a beautiful moment in the dream, because I was literally really crying, and he understood. he understood why. You know, I had gone through a few baby losses and addiction. I had overcome addiction, and it was just everything in my life that had gone wrong I was crying about. And he understood, and that was a beautiful moment, because literally you're meant to be childlike. I believe I need to read the Bible again. I cannot quote, you know, I can't quote because I don't know it off by heart, and I'm rediscovering my faith, and that's something I really need to do. So I'm trying to stay true to myself, and I'm trying to find the right words, but I feel like if I were to say, oh, there's something in the Bible about being childlike in faith or something, I know there is, but, you know, I want to get it right, if that makes sense. So those are the two dreams that I had of Jesus. And anyway, going back to this angelic presence, I never thought in my life I would experience this. So I believe this was at night time. I was in bed in my bedroom, and then suddenly on the right hand side, and apparently I don't know how true this is, but on the right hand side, that is, if you were to experience an angelic being, please correct me if I'm wrong, that's the side they would appear on. I didn't even know that at first. And in the corner of my room, I just felt this majestic being enter the room that needed respect. It didn't demand respect, it was majestic. It's weird to describe, because I couldn't see it with my eyes, but I could see it in my mind. I didn't really get a proper image, but if you're a seer, if you have spiritual abilities, you'll know what I mean. But the being was very tall, around 7 foot, wings, brown, and it was extremely majestic. And obviously, if you've been ghost hunting or something, if a spirit enters the room, that's a lower vibrational energy. This one that I felt, it had authority, it had power, it had that unconditional love and support I had felt in my dream. And so I wasn't scared, I was in awe. It lasted for a few minutes, and then it went. And then another time, during that time, I don't know why, I think my third eye was opening more or something, because I was very susceptible to this. I go through phases. And what I remember when I was like reconnecting with my faith, talking about angels more, I remember my oldest son was playing in the other room, and I literally saw an angel, the same angel I saw behind him in the room. And another time, I was walking to preschool with him. I wasn't even like trying to tune in or anything, but literally, row of houses, someone was just opening their door to, I don't know, a person. And I don't know if this was a good being, but it, like, behind them, it was extremely tall. It was massive. It was very, I don't know if it was an angel or not, because I don't know. It was something, definitely. And then, those houses have energy, and I don't think it's like, it's kind of like a combination of bad energy and, the good energy, trying to, I don't know, cancel out the bad, maybe. But anyway, there are different levels of being spiritually aware. And everyone's gonna learn in their own time, but the best that I can do is just share what I know. I fear that I am waffling, and I fear that I may not make much sense anymore, but I really appreciate everyone who's joined in. Hopefully you've taken something from this. I'm wishing you all a good Friday, and if you have any questions for me, then just please message me. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you.